Sorry, I cannot for the life of me find my tripod, so you're on books. Hello, welcome back to my channel. I got a lot of requests on my last video, and I think some of my other jewelry videos, just because you can see a lot of them, to do a tattoo tour. So I'm gonna do a tattoo tour for you guys today. I'm very excited. I love tattoos. I think they're so fun. To me, it's like, whenever people ask to see my tattoos, it's such a compliment because it's the same as if like somebody walks into my house and they like the art on my walls and they're like, who painted that? Or where did you get that piece? Or it's the same as like being on aux when you're driving with your friends and they're like, what song is this? I like this playlist. Like, it's the same level of compliment to me. So I'm very flattered, thank you. And I will show them to you. The one thing is that I personally am not a believer that tattoos need to have meaning. I started out my tattoo journey thinking that everything I got needed to have like this profound and like beautiful meaning. I think that's great. Like, some of mine do, but I also think that it's okay if you just like how something looks, or you like the artist, or you like the style, or it makes you happy, or it's like an encapsulation of a memory where I feel like I wanted to like take a snapshot of that moment and preserve it. And the tattoo is a way to do that. But I think I'll also walk through them from the beginning of time, like when I got my first one, to what I have now. And beware, the ones that I have now are still a little crusty. They're still in the healing phase. So I'm filming this anyway because, honestly, just because I had my hair and makeup done today, if I'm being like very truthful with everybody here. But regardless, let's start at the beginning. I got my first tattoo when I was 19. I wanted a tattoo from when I was like 16 years old, but I forced myself to wait like a year after I turned 18. It didn't stop me from getting a million more, so I should have just gotten it when I was 18. But the first one I got is in my mom's handwriting. It's about maybe this long, and it says La Luna, and it's on my ribs. And I wanted it to be somewhere that I could cover easily. It was my first tattoo, so I wanted to be able to like put a bra on or a bathing suit and like cover it. And the writing is actually my mom's handwriting. My sun sign is Cancer. So I'm ruled by the moon. La Luna translates to the moon. And the reason I had my mom write it is because I'm really, really close with my mom. And Cancer in the astrological chart is like notoriously like a feminine sign, like very close with their mother, has a lot of like maternal energy. And that was very true for me. So I sort of got it as like a tribute to my mom, and I had her write it and got that done when I was like 19. And literally like, I don't even know, only a few months later, I got another one. The addiction had begun, and this was my biggest one. So I went from like my first tattoo to like a very visible, very large tattoo, and it goes all the way up and down my spine. It's in cursive and it's in French. And the reason it's in French, I don't speak French. If I like a quote in another language, I just get it in that language because I don't want to run the risk of like mistranslating it into English or translating it into a different language and translating it wrong, and then all of a sudden it's on my body forever and it's incorrect. So this one, and I might butcher the pronunciation a little bit, but it's Au milieu de l'hiver, j'ai découvert en moi une invincibilité, which means in the depths of winter, I discovered in myself an invincible summer. And that's a quote from the philosopher Albert Camus. And I found that when I was going through kind of a tough time. Like, I've talked about it before on this channel, but I have a pretty long history with eating disorders. Also just like mental health stuff. I have anxiety, OCD, like seasonal depression that kind of comes and goes. So I sort of just got it to remind myself that like when things feel really hard, there's always something inside of you that can push through that. It means a lot to me because of like the season of my life when I got it. I don't know if the quote will always have meaning to me. I think that's the thing about getting like quotes on your body or text, is that the text might not always have the same level of significance to you. Like a quote that meant a lot to you when you were 19 might not mean a lot to you when you're 28. But it's more about the memory of like where I was at in my life when I got that tattoo. Third one was the one on my wrist, inside wrist. So this guy. This is easily my like ugliest tattoo that I have on my body. And the reason is because I went to the sketchiest tattoo parlor. I went to school in rural Pennsylvania. They didn't ID me. I looked 12, so like I should have been ID'd. And the tattoo was like literally $30, which is also a red flag because most shops have like a minimum, and they like, were like 30 bucks is fine. And it was also a red flag because she was digging so deep. Oh, maybe I'll do a timeout and do like pain with each tattoo too. Sorry. Ribs barely hurt. It just felt like scratching. Spine, probably my most painful tattoo. And that's because it was just on bone. And when you get it done, I sort of had to like curl over like this a little bit to get it done. This one should have been like no pain at all. It was so painful. And it's because she literally was like digging the needle into my arm. But at that point I was like, I'm in it. Like I can't leave with half a tattoo. So I just sat through it and got it done. But it's supposed to be a blackbird. You know that TikTok audio? It's like, this is what I wanted and this is what I got. I found the most delicate like swallows and like blackbirds and just like delicate dainty birds on Pinterest. And no joke, it's literally just a black blob. Like the day I got it done, I showed it to one of my guy friends and he was like, is that a gorilla? And I was like, oh my God. What have I done? It's supposed to be a blackbird and I got it for my dad. I used to play a lot of guitar and my dad plays guitar and I got it placed here so that when I would play and I would be holding and playing the guitar strings with my left hand, I could look down and see it. And my dad and I used to always sing Blackbird together. Like he would play and I would sing. So I got that for him. The older I get, the more it literally just bleeds and turns into like a blob. And it's not very cute. So, but it has so much memory that I'm like, I don't really care that it's not cute. Like it means so much to me. Whatever. That was my third one. And then my fourth one, I think was this wave on the inside of my arm. Barely hurt, literally like no pain. Once again, because it's a very like meaty area of your body. The wave sort of just meant to be like, go with the flow, kind of like just be patient and like let what comes come and let what goes go kind of vibe. So next up, I think was this one. This one says, be here now. It's a quote, once again, by Rumi. I feel like everybody knows this quote, be here now. That's also something funny about tattoos is like things go in and out of style so much. And I feel like literally there are a million girls and guys and people in general with this wave on their body somewhere. And I'm like, who cares? Be here now was just more of always like a reminder to myself because I, as somebody that is like very anxious and very type A and just like, I live in my head so often, just thinking about what could happen, thinking about what did happen, thinking about the what ifs, the mights, like thinking about my future, thinking about all the ways the situation could go wrong. And throughout my life, I've just realized that I'm not a very present person. And it's something that I have wanted to work on since I was like, I don't know, I think I was like 22 when I got this tattoo. And I've wanted to work on it since then. Okay, next is this sigil that is kind of right next to the be here now. It's this like line. So this one is actually probably my like coolest tattoo story. And this was like as I was just starting my most recent eating disorder. So I was like kind of in the thick of it and I knew what I was doing was really wrong, but I was like sick and not ready to give it up yet. And my friend who lived in New York had tagged this artist that she got a tattoo from. And this person was in Brooklyn and they did stick and poke tattoos. And I had never had one before. And I was like, oh, cool. So I booked an appointment and went to go get one done. And this person is also like a Reiki healer. I don't know, just like a spiritual healer. So their style of tattooing is a mix of like healing and tattooing, which I thought was really cool. It's a sigil, which means I basically sat down with the artist and talked about something that I want, like the arc of my life. The story that I sort of told was all about my struggles with like body image and like eating issues and restriction and just like not feeling like I loved myself. And I think that was like the eating disorder kind of like trying to come out and like me trying to like heal without actually doing the work quite yet. So I told them this story and they drew the arc of that storyline. So this sort of like knot in the end of it is meant to be sort of like that period of like self-loathing and body image issues and then like coming out of the other side of it. Then they tattooed it on me. And then they gave me the original piece of paper that the sigil was drawn on. And they told me to go home and when I felt ready, burn it to set to action like the positive change that I wanted to see. But I waited to burn it until I officially started eating disorder recovery. And I was like maybe a month into my recovery when I like stood out on our little like tiny little balcony in our first apartment in Boston. I had like just moved in with my now husband and he and I burned it together on the balcony. So that was really cool. I feel like that's like my coolest, most unique tattoo probably. I think is this constellation on the back of my arm. This one has literally no meaning. This is when they really started to not have meaning. Everyone that I've talked about thus far, as you can tell, has a lot of meaning. This one, meaningless. Totally meaningless. Living in San Francisco at a boozy brunch with my girlfriends, and I was like, let's go get tattoos. And everybody's like, okay. And so we literally found, once again, very sketchy tattoo shop. Did not get carded, way too cheap of a tattoo. But I knew I like loved space. Like I have La Luna, which is like the moon. I have kind of like a space and celestial thing. And I don't know, I think it's cute. So I had him do like a little planet and like little moon and stuff. And I just was like, this is fun. And it was just like a fun memory of like living in San Francisco with my girlfriends and like just being dumb and stupid on a Saturday afternoon. I think 8 was this sword, which is probably one of my favorites in terms of just like the style of it. But it's definitely like not the most well done. But this one, once again, has no meaning. I was on a girls trip with my college roommates who I got this janky one with. I was back with them and we decided to go to Bend, Oregon for a girls trip. I was like, I want to get a tattoo to like commemorate this trip and just like remember like a girls trip in Bend and you know, whatever. So I found a parlor and just walked in and asked to see their flash sheet. But it kind of reminded me of the swords in Princess Bride. Like it kind of reminded me of Princess Bride, which I thought was really cute because Princess Bride is like one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. So I don't know. I think I like found a little bit of meaning in it, but it's mostly just to commemorate that trip. And I love the placement of like right here on my arm. Then I think I got into some stick and pokes. So I bought a tattoo kit, a stick and poke kit. I had a friend in San Francisco that did them and she was like, it's so much fun. It's so easy. You should do it. So I got a kit and watched a couple YouTube videos. Gave myself some stick and pokes, gave my sister some stick and pokes. Honestly, all I can do is lines and dots. So I don't have a lot of choices, but I gave myself this little one on my middle finger, just 3 dots. It's hard to mess that up. And then I gave myself this little lightning bolt on the inside of my wrist. And my sister has a matching one. I gave her one on the inside of her finger. Okay, I think after that, I moved over to my right arm. So up until that point, everything had been my left arm. And I was in Sonoma and we were at one of the vineyards and the like sommelier or whatever at the vineyard had the coolest tattoo of a little beet, like a little beetroot vegetable. And it was so like flowery and dainty. And I was like, where did you get that? And they told me the name of the shop and I went in and the artist literally was like from Paris and was like spotlighting at this tattoo parlor in Sonoma and was just visiting for a month. And I was like, do you have availability like right now? And they said, yeah. And they were able to take me and I decided to get 2 because I had like 2 kind of different things that I wanted. I knew I wanted Bean on my wrist to commemorate Bean, my best friend, my first dog. And honestly, I think Bean is just like my soul dog. So like I needed a little commemoration of him on my wrist. And then I wanted a similar kind of like sketchy vegetable. And I love carrots. Carrots are like my favorite vegetable in the world. So I got this carrot on the inside of my arm. No meaning, except for the fact that I love carrots. And I used to always say like, when people would struggle to pronounce my name, because it's Kara, not Kara, I would say Kara like carrot. Okay, so Bean and carrot, I think I'm up to 12 at that point. Next, I literally just gave myself this tiny X. This is also stick and poke. I was doing my sister's stick and pokes, so little X. And then that was my honeymoon tattoo. So this was my 3rd most recent one. And this was the one that I got done on my honeymoon. I knew I wanted to get a tattoo done on my honeymoon because I like wanted to commemorate. I feel like whenever I go on trips, not every single time, but I've sort of started a pattern of like Sonoma, I got some tattoos. Bend, Oregon, I got some tattoos. I wanted to get one in Greece on our honeymoon. And I didn't know what I wanted it to be. And my husband and I were like going back and forth because he wanted to get one too. So we didn't know if we should get like matching ones. I know there's a lot of bad juju about like getting people's names tattooed on you. So I didn't really want to do that. But I wanted to get something that reminded me of like being in Greece where our honeymoon was. So we were doing some research and we found this word that is Greek and it doesn't translate perfectly to English. But the word is kefi. And it's basically roughly translates to that feeling of like extreme joy, like when you're just so happy, the joy is like bubbling out of you. And that kind of means something to Ben and I. We always like joke about like when you get in bed at night and it's like so freaking cozy and you're just like so happy, you like shake a little bit or you like rub your feet together because you're just like so happy. And there are those moments in life where you're like so happy you can't contain it and you don't know how to like verbalize how happy you are. That's Keffy. So we decided to both get that. I got mine on like the outside of my wrist right here, and he got his on his thigh. So we do match. We have the same thing, same font, just two different places, and his is a little bit bigger than mine. But this placement is probably like one of my favorite tattoo placements. I just feel like it looks so cool with like bracelets and like jewelry. I don't know. I just feel like it looks really cool. I've also seen people get them like on the top of their hand, like right there. I like that placement a lot too. I feel like I can't do that now because I have something here. And then literally just like 2 weeks ago, had the urge again to go get a couple more. So I found a random tattoo parlor near me and got a couple more and didn't plan at all what I wanted them to be. Went in there and was like, yeah, I'm kind of thinking this. And the first one I got was, you can barely see it, was on my hand. It's still healing. Sorry, it's kind of like crusty. But it's basically just like stars, different types of stars that like wrap from like my hand all the way down to my wrist. And he did them with just a single needle, so like very fine line. They're going to fade because they're on my hand. They're gonna get a ton of sunlight. They're very thin, so they will fade out. They're probably not gonna last very long, but honestly, I don't mind because I can always get them retouched or I can just let them fade. And he did them in a medium black ink. So all of my other tattoos are like the pure black, like the dark black ink. And he did these in like a medium black ink so that they weren't so harsh on my hand, which I honestly can't tell if I like or not. Part of me wishes they were a little bit darker, but he was like, you can always go darker. So let's start with the medium black. You can always come in and he can go in with the darker black and touch them up, which I might have him do in a couple months if I don't like how they look. But I do love like the look of like a dainty sort of like hand tattoo. And I do like how it looks right now. I just don't know how it's gonna like wear and fade. So I'm kind of keeping my options open with that one. And then the last one is this new one on this arm. And I kind of wanted it so like when I stood straight ahead, you could see most of it. So it's not like perfectly, it's not perfectly like halfway on my arm, if that makes sense. It's like tilted a little bit forward so that I could see it more. And Jinxie is my nickname. It's like what my dad called me growing up. He still calls me it, honestly. So I don't know, I thought that was cute, and it's like a cute nickname and it just made me smile, makes me think of him. So I got that. So I think that's literally all of them. And I think at this point I'm up to 16. I don't really have any plans to get any more. I will get more. I know I will. But I don't have any plans to. Like, there's nothing that I really want. I definitely want something for our new dog, Noodle, because I have something for Bean, so I feel like I need something for Noodle. And then I think, like, when we start having kids one day, I'm sure I'll get, like, their birth years or, like, their names or something. I'm sure I'll do something with, like, them as I get older. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, feel free. I kind of stopped doing the pain scale as I was going, I realized, but honestly, none of them really hurt a lot. I do have a high pain tolerance, so I will caveat. Like, I've gone with friends to get tattoos before and they found them more painful or less painful, or like everybody's different. So your experience with getting one will probably be different. Most of mine did not hurt. I would say the feeling is like a cat just like scratching you over and over again. The ones that hurt the most were the rib one, or not the rib one, sorry, the spine one, like I was saying. And then I feel like this little hand guy, as it got like closer to this little bone in your wrist, hurt a little bit more because of just like the placement of it. But honestly, all of the rest didn't hurt. And the stick and poke one, particularly the one that was like professionally done, hurt the least. I literally barely felt that because they have a lot more control. It's not like a, you know, tattoo gun, like doom, doom, doom into your skin. They have a lot more control. So the tattoo artist was super gentle and I truly barely felt that one. So yeah, feel free to ask me any questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one. Bye.